Hello, my name is Anna and I love trying vintage recipes. So today I'm trying 3 cookie recipes from 1963. And today's recipes come to us from my beloved Betty Crocker's cookie book. If you've been with me for a while, you know how I feel about this book. And if you're new, I absolutely love this book. It is maybe my favorite cookbook. Whenever I make a recipe from this book, I get a lot of comments from people who I think feel the same way I do about it. I just have so many good nostalgic feelings attached to this book. I grew up with it. I know a lot of you also grew up with it. So I will talk more about this book a little bit later. The cookies I chose today came from my viewers. I really tried to choose 3 cookies that get mentioned a lot in my comments. This is by no means the end of me making things from the cookie book. If I'm not making your favorite today, I may just get to it in the future because I plan to continue trying recipes from this book. But let's kick things off with some butterscotch brownies. So these butterscotch brownies actually seem pretty simple and I get a lot of comments about them. So I am guessing they're also going to be very delicious. I started off by melting 1/4 cup of butter on the stovetop. And once that was melted, I removed it from the heat and added 1 cup of packed light brown sugar. I stirred that until it was all combined and then just completely let it cool. And I transferred it to a mixing bowl. That's where we're at now. So next I'm just adding 1 egg. And now I need to mix that to combine. So I'm gonna set this aside and bring in my flour. And to that I am adding baking powder and salt. I guess I shouldn't have taken this too far away because it's coming right back in. And now I need to add my flour. There's very little flour in this because this is like a brownie. I really do enjoy a bar cookie, especially an easy bar cookie like this one. You don't even have to drop them on a sheet pan. You're not rolling, you're not cutting out. You just a lot of times mix up a batter, pour it in a pan and bake it. It says mix in vanilla and walnuts, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. This is a full batch. This makes an 8 by 8 pan, 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla. Seems a little light to me, but you know what? Follow the directions. And we have some coarsely chopped walnuts. You know, if you've been here, you know, the first time I try something, I like to follow the recipe. And then if I make it again, I'll make adjustments later. So there we go. I have my greased 8 by 8 square pan. And I did put a little parchment liner in there because I really want to try to lift these out before I cut them. I don't always do that, but you know, if you want to make a cookie that looks, or a bar that looks really nice and has very clean edges, you know, that's something you can try. I guarantee mine are not going to be perfect, but that's all right. Oh, this smells so good. Offset spatula. This is the perfect time to use one for spreading batter like this into a small pan. Oh wow, I did get some stuff on my apron, didn't I? I mean, that's what it's there for. So that's what we've got. And I need to bake this for 25 minutes in a 350-degree oven. They've been out of the oven for a few minutes, but I can't let them cool completely because I'm supposed to cut them while they're still warm. So I'm gonna lift this. Works like a charm. I did grease that pan very well. It said to do that. So, you know, that also contributed to how easily these came out. I don't know if I'm gonna cut them the size that they say in the book. You're supposed to be able to get like, I think 18 bars out of this. I think I'm just gonna cut them the way I wanna cut them. It'll just have to be like that. Still pretty warm, but they're holding together. I'm gonna continue to cut these and then I am ready to give these a taste. That's just like a little cross section. You can see the walnuts in there. I actually ended up cutting these a little bit smaller than they recommend, but I appreciate a dainty bar cookie, especially if you have a lot of cookies. You know, we get a lot of cookies around the holidays, so it's nice to have some small ones just to have a taste here and there. Speaking of tastes, that is incredibly chewy and delicious. Almost like a chocolate chip cookie, just the cookie part, not with the chocolate chips. Even chewier than that, a little bit more of a butterscotch flavor. So, so good. And really, I don't think these could be any easier to put together. Whether it's the holidays or any time of year, I think, you know, I think these would go over really well. Now I'm trying my hand at some Thumbprint cookies, just another classic cookie that I think a lot of people Enjoy. Mix shortening sugar, egg yolk, and vanilla thoroughly. So I have my shortening. I love to use Crisco sticks whenever I use shortening because they're just so easy to measure. You just cut off what you need. And then 1/4 cup of brown sugar, packed. Must have done a good job packing that. And I have my egg yolk that I did break, but that's okay. I didn't get any of the egg yolk into the egg white. That egg white is what I'm gonna use to make the chopped nuts stick to the cookies. And vanilla. This is actually a full recipe, although it seems like it's making a pretty small amount. I'm okay with that. I have a lot of cookies. Giving that a scrape. My flour and the salt. And I'm just gonna whisk it together a little before I add it to my dough. Now we stir in the flour. Nice and teeny little tiny amount of dough. It doesn't say to chill this, so I'm gonna go ahead and try it without chilling first to see if it works okay. If you've had a thumbprint cookie, you probably know what comes next, but in case you haven't, I'm taking this dough, rolling it into balls, dipping it in a little bit of egg white, and then rolling in some finely chopped nuts. I chose walnuts. Let me get a bowl for that part. Let's see if I can put together an assembly line that is filming friendly. So I have a sheet pan with just a silicone liner, roll dough into balls, 1 teaspoon per ball. I've got my little scoop here. That should help me out. Scooping out here. Very cute. You know, maybe you have your own recipe for thumbprint cookies. This is just the one from the Cookbook. I have 3, we're starting with 3. So the reason they're called thumbprint cookies is because you take your thumb and you put it in the center and you press down before you bake them. At least in this case, I'm not gonna say that every recipe is like this. That little spot that you've made, that little cavity, I guess, you fill that with either jam or icing. Maybe you do something different. I'm gonna be doing sort of a confectioner sugar icing for mine. So I'm gonna fill up this tray and bake them. There we are. So now I have to bake these at 350 degrees for 10 to 12 minutes. Quickly, I just wanted to show you what these look like right from the oven. You can kind of see that the little kind of cavity I made with my thumb, it expanded, of course. So what you can do is take a spoon and just sort of like, while they're still warm, you can kind of make it again. Of course, I wouldn't want to put my thumb in these right now. I think it's important to do it beforehand too. I wouldn't just put the balls of dough on here. I think you do need to smash it down, but you just kind of need to give it a little bit of help when they are fresh from the oven so that you have a place to put your filling, your jelly, your icing, whatever you're gonna use. And I'm gonna go ahead and prepare this thin confectioner's sugar icing. I'm gonna make some red and some green. It'll probably be a little bit more pastel. Basically, you just take some confectioner's sugar. I've got 1/2 cup in each one of these dishes. And then you add a 1/2 tablespoon to 1 tablespoon of liquid. So I've got a little bit of cream here. You can use cream, milk, water, and I can always add a little more liquid if I need to. I have a feeling I'm gonna need some more liquid in this because I do want it to be a little bit pourable. Oh yeah, this is not liquid. We're gonna add some more. We're getting to the consistency that I think I'm gonna want. Maybe a little thinner, but we'll see in a second. I gotta add the food coloring to this as well. So I have some red and some green gel food coloring. So let's start with the red. Ooh. Possibly it will be pink, but you know, still festive. Actually, it's turning out pretty nice. There we go. That's looking good. I think this is gonna be great. So now I'm gonna do the green. So we'll add some more cream to that. I think I would like it to be just slightly more vibrant, so we're gonna put a little more. Oh, you know, I definitely forgot an ingredient. I was supposed to put vanilla in this, so I'm just gonna get like a little drop of vanilla. Hopefully this isn't like too much of a tint or anything. I suppose you could do almond too if you want, depending on your tastes. But you know, and it would have been fine if I hadn't added that vanilla, but it was in the recipe in the cookie book, so we're gonna put it in there. That's pretty good. I think I'm ready to decorate. So now this icing goes in the middle of these cookies. I suppose if I was getting very serious, I could do this, or if I had a lot of cookies to decorate, I could do this with like an icing bag, but I'm just gonna try it with a teeny little spoon, see if that is nice looking enough. These teeny little spoons, they're smaller than a regular teaspoon, and they're from IKEA, but they're also very old. So I'll link them if I can, but it is not looking great that I'll be able to find these. You know what? Magic of television, we're taking that one away. Put that one there. All right. I don't hate how that looks. I think the green maybe needs a little bit more thinning. I'm not really one for perfection, so these look great to me. So I'm gonna taste this messy one because that's what I do. I always save the perfect ones for the thumbnail and or someone else, but it's gonna taste just the same. So here we go. I just wanted to make sure I didn't have icing all over my face. Ideally, you wanna wait for these to set before you give them out or you eat them. I'm on a time crunch, folks. I needed to try this now so I can wrap up this video. Anyway, they taste delicious. The cookie itself, like the cookie part without the icing, doesn't hold like a ton of sweetness. That's really kind of the job of the icing or the jelly or whatever you put in the middle. It's kind of a soft, crumbly cookie. I think I've seen another recipe for these where people use like cream cheese in the dough instead of the shortening. This is very tasty, like very, very traditional. I like that it's a small cookie and you can change up the color of the icing or whatever you put in the middle to match whatever holiday that you want. So that's awesome too. Now I'm giving these chocolate crinkles a try, and that is a chocolate crinkle. I think this is one of the most requested recipes from the cookie book. A lot of you seem to love it, so I thought it was high time that I give it a try. Mix oil, chocolate, and granulated sugar. Yes, oil. I can't say that I have ever tried a cookie that starts with oil like this. Maybe I have, and I'm just not remembering correctly, but yeah, that is what the recipe says. Don't yell at me, okay? It says oil. And I have my unsweetened chocolate that I've just melted. I am cutting this recipe in half. I'll have the full recipe in the description down below. Also, it says that I have to chill this dough either several hours or overnight. Most likely I'm gonna make this dough today and bake it tomorrow. And I've got my granulated sugar, and I'm gonna give that a good mix. Give that a scrape. Okay. Just to blend in 1 egg at a time. Another scrape, and vanilla. We're doing flour next. So I've got my flour here, then my baking powder and salt. Hello from this side. I'm gonna tiny whisk this together just to combine. Start adding my dry stuff here. I'm thinking the oil is gonna make for a softer cookie dough, and maybe that's why it needs to be refrigerated for so long before you bake them. But you know, we'll see. Have a little bit of the dry ingredients on the bottom, so I'm just making sure that those get mixed in. Yep, I can see some pockets. Oh yes, okay. So that is like brownie batter. That is why I have to refrigerate it. My suspicions were correct. So I'm definitely gonna have to refrigerate this overnight, and I'll bake them off tomorrow. Hello, it's the next day. I've got my chocolate crinkle dough right here. I took it out of the fridge at the very last minute, and it is firmer, but if I don't scoop this fast, I may need to just pop it back in the fridge. You saw what it looked like yesterday. All right, so I've heated my oven to 350 degrees, and then I need to scoop teaspoons full of this dough and then roll them in powdered sugar before I put them on my baking sheet. It says a greased baking sheet, so I am choosing to use a mat for this. Yes, I'm aware they didn't have these mats in the 1960s. So we're gonna scoop. Okay. I'm excited for how these are gonna turn out. You know, my hands, they're gonna get messy, but that's what holiday baking is about. So I know these are gonna like bake up and spread a bit, because I mean, that's kind of what happens is they look like little snowballs at first, but then after you bake them, they look all beautiful and crinkled like that. I'll go ahead and scoop and speed this part up. There's my sheet full of chocolate crinkles pre-bake. So now I have to bake these in a 350-degree oven. It says 10 to 12 minutes, but do not overbake. So I'm gonna start them at 10 minutes, see where that gets me, and I cannot wait to see these transform. Look, they did indeed crinkle. This is what they look like at 10 minutes. I'm gonna try the next tray at 12, see what the difference is, see which one I like best. I feel like my kitchen is covered in just like a thin layer of powdered sugar. This cookie was baked for 10 minutes and this cookie was baked for 12 minutes. They're both cooled. I'm gonna try each one and kind of see, you know, what's the difference? Do those 2 minutes like make a big change? The 10-minute cookies, like they were definitely a little soft in the middle when I took them out. And of course they continue to bake a little bit when they're still in the sheet tray before I, you know, remove them to cool. Right now I have like 2 more trays to bake, but I wanted to get going on this because these look so good. Okay, so 10-minute cookie, very soft. Oh man, they're very brownie-like. Let's taste the 10-minute cookie. That's very good. Okay, 10-minute cookie, very good. Nice and chocolatey. It does taste a little bit like a brownie. A little bit like a school cafeteria brownie, actually, I think because of the powdered sugar. Okay, 12-minute cookie. Definitely a little bit more resistance, but not a lot. Okay. Again, delicious. There is definitely a little bit more of a crispy edge on these. The bake time is really gonna be dependent upon what you like. You know, this is almost like a little bit like the edge of a pan of brownies, to me anyway. There's just a little bit of crispness around the edge. This is definitely a little bit softer. So, you know, I think you could go either way with the bake time. Just don't overbake them, really. These are delicious. I can see why a lot of people enjoy them and grew up with them and wanted me to try to make them. Betty Crocker's Cookie Book was originally published in 1963. My copy happens to be a reprint from the early 2000s, but I did grow up with this book. My mom had a copy. I remember just looking at it all the time. If you've been a viewer of mine for a while, you know how much I love this book. And you're probably thinking, is she ever gonna stop talking about the Cookie Book? No, never, probably not. I love it that much. And I know that this is not technically, like it's not a Christmas book, but I associate this book with Christmas. And I think, you know, part of it is this gorgeous red cover, and I associate cookies with Christmas. You know, I bake cookies all throughout the year, but Christmas is really the time when you're baking more. You're making trays and plates of cookies to take to friends and neighbors. It makes me so, so happy. And I think there are a lot of people out there who feel the same way. My viewers know that I love this book so much, and actually I need to show you something. So that is my copy of Betty Crocker's Cookie Book, full size. This was sent to me by a viewer last year, Eartha Kitsch, and it's a Christmas ornament of the Cookie Book, which I was so thrilled to receive. I couldn't believe it. And then just recently, oh, it's so small, someone sent me this dollhouse miniature version of the Cookie Book, and it even came with a little stand. And just like, look at that size comparison. It's amazing. This teeny tiny version was from Christina. Thank you so much, Christina. Like I've showed this to everybody who's come to my house since I got it in the mail. Can you believe that? Amazing, amazing. People love this book that much that they've decided to like commemorate it in a Christmas ornament. They've made dollhouse miniature versions. I just think a lot of people have very warm feelings associated with this particular book. There's just something so special about it. And I think part of it for me is all of the gorgeous photographs, specifically photographs of cookies. You know, I always talk about illustrations, lettering styles, like, yes, this is a great lettering style, but like that plate of cookies looks amazing to me. I just remember growing up and looking through this book throughout the year, not even intending to bake anything, but this like border of cookies on the first like several pages, it shows so many cookies at the bottom. And I don't know, that's like, that memory has just stuck with me. I mean, that is the image that I see. It's too much fun. I still have fun looking through this after all of these years and after, you know, baking several different types of cookies for this channel. Now it does have an entire section just on Christmas cookies. Let me see if I can find that. So it's not just Christmas, there's cookies for different holidays, but the Christmas part of the holiday section is very large. Yeah, they've got Easter and Halloween. There's literally one recipe for Halloween cookies, and it is pumpkin cookies. But then we get into Christmas, and that's like where this book really shines. The recipes I chose today were not specifically from the Christmas section. I tried to choose cookies that my viewers have wanted me to make, like telling me in the comments. But I mean, just to look at some of these displays here, oh my gosh, the wallpaper in the background, it's just perfection. This little assembly line of slice and bake bell-shaped cookies. I don't know what those are actually called. Christmas bells, that's what they're called. Just delightful. I mean, especially like, look at the color on those. I don't even care if they taste good, frankly. Oh, and there's the thumbprint cookies I made. So that's what they look like when you fill them with like jelly or jam. So many people remember these candy cane cookies. That is such a huge core memory for a lot of people. I have only made these once, and it was in middle school, and I remember them just being kind of like a plain flavor. They didn't really have peppermint flavor to them if you follow the instructions in the book like exactly. I suppose you could probably add some peppermint extract or something, but they're actually almond and vanilla flavored. Snowflakes, cranberry drops. Oh, the cream wafers, like my favorite. Maybe one of these days I'll get to making some of those for this channel. Oh, look at this tower. Look at this tower. I know you're probably so tired of me talking about this book, but I cannot help it. It holds a lot of magic for me. I just can't stop. So those are the cream wafers. What else do we have? They just have these like beautiful photographs, and then they have these diagrams at the bottom so that you can see what all of these things are. These displays, these Christmas displays, that is just so up my alley. And yes, this was before I was born, but I just always remember seeing decorations like this and seeing these images, and that like really, really was Christmas to me. Oh, there's my chocolate crinkles that I made. These maybe look a little bit better, but you know, I thought mine were pretty good. If I need a little pick-me-up, like this is my go-to flip through kind of cookbook. And that cookie house. I know a few of you commented that you remember this cookie house from the cookie book. That was your image that stuck with you, and it was your kind of magical thing. I don't know that I will ever get to try every single recipe in this book, but I also don't know that I will ever stop talking about it or that I will ever stop making videos about it. So sorry if you don't like the cookie book, but I love it. I already did a video on one of my very favorite cookies from this book, the fudge melt-away bars, which are Nanaimo bars. I know they're Nanaimo bars now, or basically the same thing. I think there's maybe just a slight variation in part of the filling, but basically that's what they are, and they're absolutely delicious, and you should make them. Those are cookies from this book that I do make multiple times throughout the year because people love them. So the cookies that I chose to make today were all great. They were all delicious, starting with the Butterscotch Brownies. Yes, right here, these Butterscotch Brownies. Not specifically Christmas, but absolutely delightful. So quick to make, so easy to make, and they make like an 8x8 pan, so that is just the right amount for my household with a few to give away, and they tasted so good. Sweet and chewy and buttery. You can also make them with shortening or oil, it says, but I mean, I would stick with butter for these. I think that really added to the flavor. I made them with chopped walnuts as directed in the recipe, but I think they would be really wonderful without those nuts. If that is a problem for you, allergy-wise, taste-wise, whatever, I think you could leave them out and they would be just as delicious. And it says they keep for days in a tightly covered jar. I didn't put mine in a jar, I put mine in like a Tupperware. So what else did I make? I made thumbprints. I feel like I have made thumbprints before, but I don't know that it was this recipe. And if I have made them before, it was a very long time ago. I made mine with icing as the filling, which was great. The cookie itself is not very sweet. It's almost like a pastry kind of crust cookie rolled in nuts. You know, I think you could probably use pecans, but I used walnuts. I think they would be really great with like a marmalade filling. I love orange marmalade, so you know, that's my thing. Or you could do like a lemon curd or a lime curd or something like that. You could go any flavor of jelly or jam that you wanted, but they were really delicious with the icing. I think if I tried them again, I might do like an almond flavored icing because I really like that flavor, but the vanilla was also super good. It just said you fill them with like a confectioner sugar icing. I just followed the one that was in this book. It's pretty basic. I will say I did get a little bit more of a knack for filling them with icing after I turned the camera off. Sometimes, you know, if I haven't made a cookie in a while, like it takes me a little time to get the hang of things. So yes, I was a little bit more effective at filling them after, of course, after I stopped filming. Really good. Like I love a thumbprint cookie. My husband's grandma makes thumbprints and she uses icing and it was really fun to try to make them myself. And finally, those chocolate crinkles, probably the most requested cookie that my viewers have wanted me to make. Every single time that I talk about the cookie book or make a video about it, like make those chocolate crinkles. And they were really, really good. I personally liked the ones that were baked for a little bit of a shorter time. Not that the crispy edge ones were bad, they just like weren't my personal preference. I wouldn't turn them down either. If someone wants to make me a crispy edge chocolate crinkle, I'm gonna take it. They were really delicious, kind of brownie-like, not overly sweet. That powdered sugar did some of the lifting on the sweetness. One thing I really like about all three of these cookies, and there are a lot of cookies in this book like this, is that they were small. You know, especially at the holidays, when you are getting a lot of cookies, giving cookies, whatever. I just like a little cookie, especially if you've got multiple different types to sample. It's not such a big, like, huge amount. So then instead of like one big chocolate chip cookie, you've got like, you know, your little crinkle cookie, your little snickerdoodle, your little fudge melt-away bar, whatever. You make them small, and then your guests or you can sample a lot of different ones. It's like a nice little treat. I hope this video could spark some really warm holiday memories for you, or maybe remind you of a cookie that you haven't made in a long time. And what are your favorite cookies? I want to hear it. Tell me in the comments, what are your favorite cookies from this cookie book? Because I do plan to do more videos about this book in the future. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you'd like to see some additional content from me, you can join me over on Patreon. I'll leave a link in the description down below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.